All right, I think we're live, right? Can you guys hear me? All right, fantastic. I love the chat. Watching the chat's like one of my favorite things in the morning. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you are in the world. It's super, super exciting and an honor for me to be here with you today. Of course, I'm coming at you guys where I'm always at, beautiful, sunny Northern California. Love to hear where y'all are from in the chat. And as we get started, I'm going to give people a minute or two to trickle in. We have a lot of people signed up to the webinar today, but I want to hear, what is the most memorable subject line you've ever received? And I'm going to start. I think one of you did this to me. One of you in the webinar, probably. A few days ago, somebody sent me as a first email a calendar invite. No other previous message, no cold calls, nothing. Just an invite on my calendar. I absolutely declined it. It was bold. It was extremely bold, which I appreciated, but it definitely didn't work at all. Okay, we've got Philippines. We've got South Africa. I saw somebody from Ogden, Utah. Click to receive your free Amazon gift card. Don't you dare open this. That's hilarious. This webinar is weird. Somebody had a registration letter. There's so many good ones coming in. We got Croatia in the house. We got India in the house. We got all kinds of goodness here. I'm going to give you all about 30 seconds more to get settled, and then we are going to keep going. Someone mistook the subject line and body and sent me a paragraph long subject line. Hey, that's one way. That's one way. Can we use subject line? Yeah, Brendan, we're going to get into AI customization. The AI will customize based on company and on the information about that person. I'll show you guys how it works. We got Nigeria in the house. What do we have? Good old Josh back in the mix. What's up, Dylan? You know, here I am. Let's send it. All right, 10 seconds, and then we're going to get this thing on the road. Looks like you need a drink. That's a good one. I actually like that subject line. I'm going to steal that. Yes, you're going to get the recording. We always send you the recording. I don't know why it started showing my face. Let's change the layout. I think that's probably Alex or somebody on my team. Okay, we're going to get this show on the road, y'all. Let's do it. So today's agenda, housekeeping. Yeah, I don't know. The Goldcast is a little slow today, so it might be a little slow. Carly, I see you in here. What's up? You good? You're on mute. There's two Carlys.
Someone appears to have my link. If you're the other Carly Stone, could you please leave the stage? Apologies, y'all. Whoever is on live, could you please...
Somebody's hacked Carly. Yeah, I don't love that.
I can try and figure out how to boot. Apologies, y'all. Okay, awesome.
That's hilarious.
They left. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Woo. This is how you know it's live, guys. This is how you know it's live. Sharon Van Fleet, hello from San Antonio. That's my hometown. We only got one Carly Stone in the house. All right, y'all, let's do this. Our agenda, we're going to get through some housekeeping. I'll talk about myself for just 1 second. We'll talk about cold emailing. We'll talk about the structure that I like to use to get more replies. We'll do a product demo in Apollo. And of course, I'll be taking your questions live at the end. So mastering cold email with AI, a 3-step structure for more replies. This webinar is sponsored by Apollo. Apollo is my employer. If you weren't aware, they're also the only end-to-end sales engine with everything that you need to run a modern sales process or a modern sales team is in Apollo. If you don't have an account, head to apollo.io. You can create one for free. Let's get into it. We are going to send you a recording of the webinar. If you have to leave during the webinar, I will be offended, but I will still send you the recording. So that's okay. So don't worry about that. If you have questions, I try and keep an eye on the chat, but it's overwhelming, completely overwhelming. So if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box, the Q&A tab in Goldcast. We have a team, Radu Vaduva, he's incredible. He's here live answering your questions in real time. So put questions there. And please do not spam the chat. We will absolutely boot you from this webinar, and then it will ban you from all future webinars. So definitely not worth it. Okay, a little bit about me, if you don't know already. I'm our head of content marketing and product education. I spent the first 10 or 11 years of my career in sales, and I'm a recovering sales leader. And I was a really early adopter of tools like Apollo or PersistIQ, SalesLoft, Outreach, ZoomInfo, you name it, I've used it, and have been on the cutting edge of outbound sales for a long time. So I'm really excited to share what I've learned with you guys. Okay. So I want to start with talking about the goal of cold email. This is where a lot of people go wrong. And just so you guys know the structure, we're going to spend a few minutes in slides, like maybe 15 minutes in slides and maybe 20 minutes or so in the product. So you're getting a little of both. The goal of a cold email, is it to establish your value? Is it to book a meeting? Is it to close a sale? I think it's not any of those things. And I think that most people go wrong with their outbound sales process right at the top. They misunderstand the goal of a cold email. Okay. The goal of a cold email is to establish a relationship. That is the basis of all good sales processes. And you guys have heard this in a number of cliches in the past. You've heard they're not buying your product, they're buying you. You've heard it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Both of those things are true. You've also heard people don't like being sold to, but they like to buy. What all of that is getting at is that people want to buy from someone they know and trust. And your goal for your email is to get a relationship. And the only way you can do that is to solicit a reply. I saw somebody put that in the chat. So what this means functionally, we'll talk about this more, but most often people get this wrong by having too hard of an ask in their first email. You're always asking for time. You're always asking for a demo. You're always asking for a meeting. That's not really your goal. Your goal is to get a response and establish a conversation. Okay. So I have a 3-step structure that I like to use for cold emails and for outbound sales in general. We're going to focus on the email part of it today, but there's more to it than that. I like to use calls and voicemails, and I also like to use LinkedIn touches. I like to use whatever I have available to me to get in touch with people. It typically goes something like this. Day one, email. Next day, call and voicemail. And then here's something I see a lot of people get wrong. You got to give people time to breathe. You don't want to be the guy texting into your text chat thread. It's all blue texts. You just keep hitting them up the same day. Hey, where are you? Where are you? You got to give people some time. So I like to leave at least a week between the first and second email and another week in the second and third email. What ends up happening, because your sending schedule will exclude weekends, is this plays out over the course of about a month, maybe 21 to 25 calendar days. And this is a structure I like to use. So real quick, I know why you guys are here. You guys are here. You're like, Josh, the webinar says about AI. Why are you talking? Where's the robot? Show me the robots. We're going to get to the robots, okay? But I asked the robot if it was important to learn how to write your own sales emails. And the robot said yes. The robot was like, yeah, absolutely. You got to learn how to do this on your own. And I think about this like I think about math in school. We have calculators and computers now, right? But you still had to learn how to do math. At least I had to learn how to do math with a pen and paper, not a pen. I use a pen, never allowed a pen. Pencil and paper. Writing cold emails is the same kind of way. I want to teach you the framework to do it on your own so that you can get better copy out of the AI. Okay, let's get into it. I'm going to get a drink really quickly and take a look at the chat. Did calculus and pen? You're mad. You're crazy, Joseph. Okay. So day one, email number one. What does this tend to look like? Email one has to do a lot of heavy lifting in an outbound sales process. We need to cover a lot of ground. Who are you? What you do? Why you're reaching out? Why they should care? And it should have a call to action as well. And as I mentioned before, we're not trying to book a meeting right away. We're trying to get a response. So our call to action should be some version of, are you interested? We don't have to use that phrase, but that's the sentiment we'll be getting at. But there's a problem here, which is, what is the number one indicator of getting a reply in an email? Okay, I have tested this across hundreds of thousands of outbound sends in my career and across millions of sends with email marketing to people who have opted in. Most of you are here in this webinar because I sent you an email, right? So between those two data sets, the number one thing that I have found is an indicator of success, whether I'm trying to get a reply from a cold email or a click from a marketing email, is brevity. The shorter your email is, the better your emails are going to perform as long as you accomplish these goals. You can't just send like, hey, with a blank body copy and get a lot of replies, right? Like the brevity has to also incorporate who you are, what you do, why you're reaching out, all of those things. So what we're going to do is we're going to challenge ourselves to write the first email in less than 4 sentences. This is going to be tough, but it's going to pay off down the line. I always say that the perfect email is 1 sentence long. Carlos, don't spam the chat. That's a spam in the chat. We'll kick you out. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through how I write the first email. Okay. And yes, you're all going to get a recording of this, guys. So email number 1. We'll talk about subject lines in a second, but this is how I put an email together. Let's assume that I'm working at a marketing agency that does SEO. I don't work at one. I just made it up. That's fine. The first sentence is going to read like this. Hey, first name, I'm Josh. I run an SEO company that works with marketing agencies in California. We just covered a lot of ground. Who am I? What do I do? Who I help? And I personalized it. Now, in this webinar, I'm going to focus on personalization that you can pull straight from Apollo. But we all know that that's not the best personalization you can get. The best personalization will come from you or from an AI, right? Which we'll talk about the AI in a minute. However, you can easily add additional personalization to this. Hey, I'm Josh. I run an SEO company that works with marketing agencies in California, and I love the webinar that you did last week, or I love the podcast you were on 2 months ago. Whatever else you slot in there can slot right into this sentence. Now we're going to move on to the second sentence. This needs to be what they care about, right? Nobody wants to get an email about you and everything that you do and why you're great unless that directly correlates to something they care about, unless that's going to put money in their pocket. So this should be whatever you have that is most relevant. In this example, I made this up, but we helped 12 California companies rank #1 on Google in the last 3 months. You'll notice that I pulled California a couple times. One thing that I have found in my outbound efforts is that people care about people who live near them. People care about people who are similar to them. So I'll give you a tidbit before we move on. If you have prospects in your same city, you shouldn't be cold emailing them with an auto email. You should be trying to meet them in person. And one of the best ways to do that, send them an email manually, like write them a nice email and invite them to a VIP dinner. That's like one of my favorite plays for people who live in my same town or within driving distance. Set up a dinner for 4 or 5 people. It's a networking event. You pick up the tab. People love that. No one gets invited to a VIP dinner so often that they don't want to go, at least every now and then, right? But for all the people who live maybe a little further away or who you can't invite to a VIP dinner, this is a good approach. Now, the third sentence, I have some availability for new clients. You'll notice that this is letting them know that this is a sales email, but I'm not selling, right? I am just saying why I'm reaching out. I'm letting them know, hey, this is a business transaction. You don't ever want to bait and switch someone, especially when you're starting a relationship with them. And then the last sentence. This is the most important sentence in an email. This is where most people get it wrong with their first email in an outbound sequence. They ask the wrong question, or they don't ask a question at all. You have to understand that as a human, you are conditioned from a very, very early age to respond to a question. When somebody asks you something, you reply. Not replying is very rude. If you mess up here by putting an imperative or a statement, you're going to get fewer replies. And what that normally looks like is saying, let me know if you're interested. Let me know if I should send you a message. Tell me if that works for you. You're telling someone to do something. I don't know about you guys. I'm like, what? Don't tell me to do anything. But if you ask me a question, I'm much more likely to respond. And this question, I think, is a very soft ask. Are you looking for an SEO expert right now? And I'll tell you why I ask it that way in a minute. Now, before we move forward, Stephanie, this sounds a bit like spam. Spam is in the eye of a beholder, okay? If it sounds like spam to you, maybe it's spam. I think to a lot of people, that doesn't sound like spam. Now, we need a subject line. The subject line, I like to think about like a movie trailer, okay? I want to hook the reader. I want to tease what's coming, but I want to also leave something to be desired. A bad movie trailer, you don't need to see the movie, right? You watch the trailer and you're like, wow, this is exactly what the movie was. I don't need to go to the theater. But a good movie trailer leaves you wanting more. And a subject line for an email should be similar. Okay. I wrote 2 subject lines that I think could work for an email like this. Number 1, 12 #1 search rankings last Q. Now you'll notice that this is all lowercase. That's intentional because all lowercase emails look like a person wrote it. Last Q is also intentional. And you may argue with this. I love it when people disagree. I'm just trying to give you guys a framework. Last Q is intentional. What last Q means is last quarter, but I'm leaving something out. I'm leaving something to be desired. People are like, wait, what's last Q? Where's the rest of Q? And they'll often click on your email to try and get the rest of that sentence or the rest of that word. The second subject line is about top SEO ranking. What about top SEO ranking, right? You're teasing it, you're hooking them. And if I run a marketing agency, I probably care about SEO rankings, but I want to open the email to understand what's coming next. I've seen hilarious things work in subject lines. And I recommend you test it out. We'll talk a lot about testing later in the webinar, but misspelling a word intentionally in a subject line sometimes gets more people to open it, especially if you're selling into an industry that's not particularly like tech savvy. I used to work in construction technology, and we would sell to subcontractors. One of the things you want to do with your subject line and with your body copy is you want to look like the people you're selling to. Well, one thing I noticed with subcontractors is they're not typically amazing at spelling. So we would put misspellings into the subject line, and we would get more opens from them, because a lot of their emails from people that they do business with had some misspelling in it. Now, you don't want to completely butcher everything, right? You don't want to misspell every word. You don't want to completely abandon the rules of grammatical English or whatever language you're writing in. But you can use some of these tricks or these tips to get people to open your subject line or open your email. And as long as you cover everything we covered in that first email, I don't think it's spam. I think it's a legitimate way to message somebody and ask if they're interested in what you have to sell. Now, I want to talk about personalization. I mentioned earlier, the people who are in your town, you should be trying to meet them in person. I strongly believe that. For the people who you are not able to personalize for, like, individually, I really recommend that you try and bucket your list down into groups of like 100 or 200 where they all have a very common characteristic. So if you take, all your people in Santa Monica, they get one sequence. All your people in Sacramento get another one. All your people in Utah get another one. Targeting is what we haven't talked about in this webinar. We did another webinar on 5 ways to find better leads. Targeting is a prerequisite to success going outbound. And you want your list to be as big as it can while still being as targeted as possible. If that doesn't make sense, let me know. Put it in the Q&A. Okay, let's talk about replies. You're going to get plenty of responses using this structure that say no. A no is not a loss. A no is a victory, because I learned something. They said no, which means they're not interested right now. Remember, my ask was, do you need an SEO expert right now? My ask wasn't, can we talk tomorrow? It was, do you need this? And if they say no, that gives you an opportunity to ask them, can I check in with you in 6 months? Okay, now if they say, take me off of your list, don't ask them if you can check in 6 months. That's not the right way to respond. But if they just say, hey, no, or not right now, or I'm not super interested in that, it's always an option to put them in a sequence that fires off 6 months from now, saying, hey, I checked in with you 6 months ago. You said you weren't looking for SEO expert. Has anything changed? That's completely valid. And doing this will build for you a very deep pipeline. Now, I saw a question in the chat, where can I find the webinar? Go to apollo.io, go to resources, go to webinars. Or you can go to apollo.io on YouTube, okay? So I'm going to pause really quickly before we get into email 2. And I want to talk about something that if you guys like this webinar, if you like this kind of content, I highly recommend that you go and follow us on LinkedIn, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to run a ticker across the top of your screen. The ticker is right here. Our social team is incredible. They work so hard to share the best possible content. We work with the best people in sales and in sales technology, and I would really love for them to get some love. So if you don't follow us on LinkedIn, take a second, go to LinkedIn, give them some love, give them a quick follow. I'm also active on LinkedIn. You're always welcome to contact me there as well if you guys have questions. I do my best to get back to people. I'm only going to let this ticker run for a few more seconds. I'm going to take a look at the chat really quickly. Okay, great. Yeah, Barrett, stay out of the chat, man. It's like, you don't want to go in there. Okay, we will stop the ticker and we'll keep going in the webinar. So we've talked about email 1. We've talked about the subject line. We've talked about what that email needs to accomplish. That's tricky. It's tricky stuff. And you're going to need to practice, but I'll show you how to get the AI to do it for you in about 15 minutes. Okay, so now we're going to talk about email 2. So an interesting thing, going into the second email, using the structure that I'm showing you, I often get more replies to email 2 than email 1. And it's because, if you remember, the number 1 indicator of a successful email is brevity. My second email follows a very similar structure almost all the time. I reply into the first email subject line. So I don't send a new thread, and it's 1 sentence, okay? Hey, Ellie, or whatever their name is, quick yes or no is fine. Do you need help with SEO? I want to break this down for you. There's a reason I'm saying quick yes or no is fine. Remember, a no is not a bad option. A no is a victory for me. I want a no. I want a reply. I want more yeses. Of course I want a yes, right? That's how I'm going to fill my pipeline today. But my pipeline will also be filled by people who reply and say, not right now. Check in with me in 6 months. So giving them an out to say no is one of my preferred methods to solicit more replies. Then I restate my question from the first email. Remember, the subject line or the call to action from the first email, are you looking for an SEO expert right now? So all I'm doing in the second email, I'm not saying, hey, just following up. Hey, just checking in. I'm just asking that question again. Do you need help with SEO? This combination of giving someone an out by saying, hey, quick yes or no is fine, and then restating the question is very powerful because remember, we are conditioned to respond to questions. Brevity is a highest indicator of a successful email. That's it. I love this. I almost always use this with variation, but I would encourage you to try it if you're not doing this. Okay. Okay. Someone say my sound is messed up. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to move on to the third email. I'm loving seeing some of you guys say this is valuable. I'm so glad. I'm so happy to hear that. The final email. This one is a little tricky. You guys are probably going to think I'm crazy. So I'm excited to see what you think about this. Okay. In the third email, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to restate the value from email one. So remember, at this point, I've emailed you once, and then I've called you, and then I've done a LinkedIn touch, and then I've emailed you again, and then I've called you again, and then I've done another LinkedIn touch of some kind. What is the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I don't want to just do the exact same thing over and over again, okay? We have to take a different approach, but we still have the same thing that we're selling. We're still the same company. So we're going to come at it from a different angle. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to use what we call pattern interruption to make somebody laugh. And Tim, you disagree? That's great. I would love to see what you guys do. Hyper-personalization is not always possible, would be my response to that. But okay, we're going to give leaders or readers a laugh by interrupting the pattern of their normal email volume and telling them a joke. This works for me. It's worked for me in the past. So email 3, this typically looks something like this. Hey, I've tried to get in touch with you a few times, but it seems like you might be on vacation. That's going to come back later. I'm making that assumption intentionally. And then I say, quick note, when you get back, here's what I do. I run an SEO practice that helps agencies get clients in the top 3 results on Google. Okay. Now I'm coming back with another call to action, right? But this time, again, this is a soft ask. A no is okay. Does that sound even a little like something that you need? It's okay for me if they say no to that. If it's not even a little bit interesting to them, that's fine. But this is where I go into pattern interruption. P.S. If you happen to be on vacation on the island of Aruba and there's a woman named Francine, she asks about me, tell her I love her, but it will never work. I'll explain later. This is completely random. This is not, no one is expecting to get this from you. They're not going to even know what to think. And they're immediately going to realize that they're going to laugh because you've interrupted their pattern. You've thrown something at them that they're just completely not expecting. And what often happens is because they laugh, think about how you build relationships outside of sales and outside of work. If the first interaction you have with someone, they're laughing at something you said, they laugh at your joke, they like you. They like you way more than if you start somewhere else, okay? So what will often happen is they reply to the joke. People are like, dude, what? Like, I'm not on vacation or like whatever. I'll go back to it. Someone asked for the slide again. If you happen to be on vacation, this is just a wacky thing that I did that has worked for me. You can put any number of jokes here and I'll show you how to get the AI to write a good joke for you. So you don't have to be the world's greatest jokester. If you want to follow somebody who does do jokes in sales, John Selig, S-E-L-I-G, he's on LinkedIn. Follow John. He's got a lot of good tips about this. He's a stand-up comedian who got into sales. So some people are asking, aren't you going to make people mad? Yeah, definitely. People are going to get mad. Somebody got like really mad at me the other day because I stopped at a red light. I'm not even kidding. Like I wasn't even in the right lane. They were just mad. People get mad all the time. It doesn't matter if they get mad or not. The number of yeses that you get should be way more valuable than the no's. You're always going to get more no game. Okay. So You guys are probably wondering at this point, you're like, all right, Josh, you gave us a bunch of tips. You showed us a bunch of slides, but let's get down to money. Let's get down to brass tacks. What kind of results can we expect from this? Okay. This is a screenshot from a tool. It wasn't Apollo. Don't tell anybody. I'm sorry. This is a screenshot from sequences that I ran using this structure when I owned my own company. You can see the volume on the left. One sequence had 2,500 people. The other sequence had 600. The difference in them was how much I was able to personalize. So I cleaned my lists. The one in the bigger sequence, I wasn't able to get a lot of data from them or for them. They just didn't have a big web presence or LinkedIn presence. The one on the top, I was able to get more information from them, so I personalized manually. What I want to highlight is the reply rate. This is across the sequence, okay? So across 3 steps over the course of a month. 34% on the higher, more personalized emails, 25% on the less personalized emails. If you're able to get to this volume of replies, you're going to have a pipeline that you can barely keep up with, okay? This is something that is absolutely possible, but it doesn't happen overnight. How did I do this? Well, first I A/B tested, and I'm going to show you guys how to A/B test as soon as we get into Apollo in like 2 minutes. A/B testing is super important. You can make a guess on what's going to work with your ideal prospects, but you're never going to know unless you collect the data. The second thing you have to do is manually personalize. This is exactly what somebody else was saying, okay? And the answer is, how am I sending 3K emails? It's over a long period of time. That was over like 6 months or 7 months, okay? You don't need to send a high volume because I'm getting 500 responses. Personalize manually where you can. And if you can't personalize because you've tried, right? You went and looked at what data was available for these people, you're going to put them in an auto sequence, and you're going to keep the good people and put them in a manual sequence. And the third thing you can do, this is new, is you're going to use AI to create variations of your emails and generate new ideas for your testing. Okay. So let's come together in Apollo. We're going to take a look at how all of this works. I'm going to give myself a second to catch up on the chat and drink some water. I'll ask for some feedback. How am I doing so far, guys? Is this what you expected? Awesome. Some yeses, some nos. Great. I love to hear it. I'm just here to help you guys be successful. Okay, somebody said, can I look at the Q&A? I'm going to look at the Q&A in the end. It is recorded. If you joined late, we're going to send you the recording, so don't worry about that. Pattern interruption, the biggest idea so far. Yeah, there's a lot written about pattern interruption in comedy, so if you think that's interesting, go check that out. Is it water? This is water with a little bit of a noon hydration tablet in it. Okay, so I'm going to get out of slides and I'm going to get into Apollo, and I'm going to kill Slack so I don't accidentally show you guys Slack. So I'm in Apollo. I'll zoom in a little bit. I think I'm actually just going to hide my speaker video, and that should make this video a little bit bigger. Okay. So a couple things I want to start with. We're going to spend our time in Apollo in the Engage tab. Okay. But we're going to be creating sequences that have emails, calls, and LinkedIn touches. If you guys haven't done this already, you may need to come to settings in the top right-hand corner, and you may need to go to voice right here and set up a phone number. Okay. One thing, I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of Apollo users, a lot of data, and a lot of people hit me up and they ask me how to be more effective with their outbound. And the thing I notice is they're not making phone calls. And the answer is you just have to call. It's just not going to work to just be doing emails, especially if you're just doing auto emails. I mean, you may get some replies, but it's not going to be as effective as it can. So I'm going to just put in my area code. I'm in the San Francisco area. I'll choose a number. Now I have a phone number set up in Apollo that I can use to make my calls. Okay. So I'm going to go to Engage now. And I have already created the very basics of a sequence that we'll get into. But if you haven't done that yet, Engage is where all of Apollo's tools for getting in contact with people live, right? You're probably familiar with search. This is where you find people in Apollo, but Engage is how you get in touch with them. And a sequence is just a series of calls and emails. If you want to create a new sequence, hit New Sequence, and you can choose from a pre-built template that we provide. We have a whole bunch of templates here. I recommend you take a look at them. Some of them are incredibly valuable. But remember, I'm teaching you how to do math with a pencil, not a pen. So we're going to create a new sequence. So I'm just going to create one so you can see what that looks like. One thing you'll notice is I hit show advanced settings. I want to highlight this really quickly. There's a rule set functionality in sequences. And if I click here, I can show you what that means. You can create automations off the bat in your rules with a rule set. And those look like this, okay? Let's say I'm hitting up multiple people at the same account and one of them responds. So if I get a positive response from somebody, I don't want to keep hitting up their colleagues, right? Like that makes me look bad. So I can set a trigger up automatically to stop emailing people when one of them responds at the same account, or to create a delay. I can create a phone call task if somebody opens my email a few times. I can do a whole bunch of different things just right there with a couple of clicks, like mark people unresponsive if they don't respond after the end of the sequence. So if you're not using that, I recommend you check it out. But what we're going to do is, I'm going to create this sequence, new, test, create, and you'll see I have this dialogue right here. It's AI-driven writing, day 1, day 3, day 5. If I hit add a step, I get to choose what kind of step I want in the sequence. And for this example, I'm going to show you automated email. If we have time, I'll show you manual email as well. You can see I have AI available to me with automated email. Okay. So I'm going to choose an automated email. It'll fire immediately when somebody is added because this is the first email. And if I hit advanced settings, I can set a limit on the number of emails sent from this step per 24 hours. Now, if you've been to my previous webinar about email deliverability, you will have set up your mailbox settings so that you're not sending too many emails in a given day. So you shouldn't need this. But if you do need this, you can limit how many emails go out from each sequence, which you may or may not want. I'm going to hit continue, and now I can start creating my email. I'm going to go back to the other sequence that I had created because I took the copy from the slides from the first email and I put them here. So this is an email that I wrote and a subject line that I created. What I'm going to do is I'm going to A/B test my sequence versus the AI sequence. Okay. So this email, AI wrote this, right? This is actually pretty good. I noticed you're based in California from your site. Looks like you work with high value clients. Our team specializes in helping agencies boost search rankings. We have a track record of delivering content quickly. Is this something you need? I wouldn't have written this email this way, but I didn't have to write it. AI wrote it. And I'll show you guys how to do that. Before I do that, okay, I will call out something. We're going to heavily use the A/B testing feature. A/B testing is only available to people who have a professional or a custom plan of Apollo. Okay, so I am going to run a very quick poll right now. If you are on a free or a basic plan and you would like a professional or a custom plan to make use of A/B testing and our dialer and manual emails and manual tasks, say yes to the poll. I'm only going to run the poll for like 1 minute. Okay. So I will stop sharing my screen and I'm going to run this poll, and I'll get some water as well, and we'll open the poll. So again, if you're on a free or a basic plan and you want to upgrade to professional or custom, say yes. If you're already on a professional or a custom plan, you'll have access to all of the features that I'm going to show over the next couple of minutes. And I am only going to keep this live for 60 seconds because we have a lot of content to cover. So make sure to get your vote in and we'll get you passed over to our sales team. I drink like 4 cups of water during these webinars. It's insane. I love it though. Okay, so we've got some votes coming in. Just about 20 more seconds on this. We've got a lot to cover with AI, and I know that's why you guys are here. So we'll let them come in, and I'll do a countdown: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm not really good at counting. I did use a pen in math class. Okay, I'm closing the poll. Thank you for those of you who voted. I'll stop sharing that screen and I'll start sharing my screen again. Okay, we're popping back into Apollo. All right, so I have already created, where were we, right? I have already created an A variation that I wrote. I'm gonna create a B variation that I'm gonna test using AI. So the thing I wanna show you guys is on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay, on the right-hand side of the screen, we have the AI assistant. This AI assistant can write copy for us, okay? So the first thing I wanna show you is this top bar. It says outreach. You'll notice that there are 3 options: outreach, follow-up, and last pitch. If we're using a 3-email sequence, this is super helpful. The first email is the outreach email, the second email is follow-up, the third email is the last pitch. We're doing a first email, so I'm gonna start with outreach. Now, I have a bunch of boxes here where I can prompt the AI and tell the AI what it needs to know to write for us. Okay. So let's get into that. I had set this up earlier, but I'm going to clear it so you guys can just see how I think about this. Okay. One thing you have to understand is that the more content you put in these boxes, the longer the email that the AI writes is going to be. So it's very important that you talk to the AI as if you were talking to a 5-year-old or your grandmother, whichever one you prefer. Okay. So for our fake company, Cali SEO, I'm going to put my company name, and then it gives me a prompt for what we offer. And I think something like this: fast, proven, and high ranking content for your clients, right? In this example, I'm an agency selling to other agencies. So that's what we offer. Now, I'm going to skip pain point. And I understand that the way this is designed, it makes you think that you have to put something in every box. You don't. The more copy you put in, the longer your email is going to be. And I've had better results getting shorter copy just by skipping the pain point section. Okay. Now we go to value proposition. I'm going to put something like this: we work with agencies to help high value clients rank higher on search. Okay. Now it's a call to action. I'm going to say, ask if this is something they need. Okay. And now context to include. This is actually a super important part of the AI prompting. Okay. I'll show you how it works. I recommend you always provide some context. I'm going to tell the AI to write the email in 4 sentences or less and personalize based on location. Okay. And now I'm going to hit generate. And now the AI is going to think for a second, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see what it writes. Okay, so now this AI has come back to us and it's written some stuff. It's given us a couple subject lines and it's given us some body copy. So let's read it. I notice you're based in location and want to reach out about a solution that can help your agency's high-value clients rank higher on search. We specialize in providing fast, proven, and high-ranking content that delivers results. Is this something your agency needs? Let's chat and see how we can work together. I don't hate that, but I don't love that either. I wouldn't use it. Now we have, hey, we noticed you're based in location, want to reach out to offer a solution that can help your agency's high-value clients rank higher. We specialize in creating fast content. Is this something you need? Let's chat about how we can work together. So if I don't love either of these, I don't have to accept them, and I don't necessarily have to edit them. I can just tell the AI, I don't like it. There's this dislike button, and I can just say dislike. If you do that, you're going to train the Apollo AI to write better copy for you. I think the second one is a little better than the first one, but it's not great. So I'm going to refresh it, and I can re-roll, right? And this is going to come back to me with a different version. And let's see what we get. Hey, notice that your location in San Francisco is competitive for SEO. We work with agencies like yours to help high-value clients rank higher on search. I actually don't hate this. I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to make some edits to it. Oops. Did I just lose it? That would be hilarious. Totally lost it. Great. We're going to try it again. That's something I will tell you guys, okay? Yes, is this something you need? It does sound salesy. We'll edit that, Greg. One thing I want to show you, what just happened to me, right? I hit the back button, and it took me all the way back out to the sequences list. You got to hit the cancel button if you want to just go back to the sequence you were in. Okay, so we notice your agency's been doing some great work. We work with agencies like yours to help clients rank higher in search. Our solution is fast, proven, and high ranking. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to edit this a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break out each sentence to its own paragraph, because this makes the email easier to read. And 40% of emails are read on mobile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a dynamic variable. Okay. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to come down here to dynamic variables, and I can just search for state, and it will put in the state. Dynamic variables are super powerful. You can get a lot more than just state. You can pipe in custom data from your CRM. You can pipe in, we call conditional variables, like if they have certain information, show them one thing. If not, show them something else. I recommend you take that out, or you take a look at that rather. But so this one says, hey, we noticed your agency's been doing great work in wherever they are. We work with agencies like yours to help high value clients rank higher on search. I'm going to change this. I don't ever love saying our solution. So we're saying we're fast, proven, and high rank. We're fast and proven at producing high ranking content. Something like that. You're going to have to edit the AI a little bit, right? But this did give me an email that I can use. Is this something you're looking for right now? Something like that. Now I can use the AI's subject line if I want. Helping your company rank higher on search, helping, San Francisco agencies rank higher on search. I don't hate that subject line. So I'm just going to use that. I'll just say, whatever their city is. When you're selling to marketing agencies in particular, this actually, I've seen personalization based on city work pretty well. So I can hit save, and you'll notice now that I have an A variation that I wrote and a C variation and a B and C variation that the AI wrote. So what's going to happen as I add people to this sequence is it's going to keep track of what was my open, my deliver, and my reply rate, or my open, my reply, my interested rate for each of these templates. And what I will do is I'm going to come in and check on that every couple of weeks, right? Or every week, depending on how much volume is going through. And what you want to do is constantly be turning off the losing variation and keeping the winning variation going. And then you create a new variation. So you should always have at least two variations going against each other, an A and a B, and you're constantly optimizing. That's how you get to those really, really solid reply rates, 6 to 8% per step. I'm going to add another step. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add a phone call like we talked about. Maybe it's due the next day. It'll be high priority. And because I set up my dialer, I can make the calls. Then I'm going to add another step. I'm going to add a LinkedIn connection request. This is pretty cool. If you guys have the Apollo Chrome extension, you can actually automate some of the LinkedIn work that you would otherwise have to do manually. You can automatically send somebody or do a profile view. You can automatically send them a connection request. So I'm going to set that up. Okay. And I don't know why this gives me like a thread or a subject line the first time I do this. Whenever I hit cancel and come in here, it just gives me body copy. And you can just pre-populate the connection requests. You can say, hey, first name, building my network of other agency owners, would love to connect. And Apollo, when you go to LinkedIn, I'll show you right now. I'll go to LinkedIn. I have the Chrome extension on the right-hand side. When I click the Chrome extension and go to tasks, anybody I've added to the sequence who's at that step, I can automatically send those connection requests, or I can make that touch. Okay. So now I'm going to add the second email. Somebody's saying I got the warning with LinkedIn when I do that. Okay. Yes, LinkedIn limits the number of connection requests you can send. I think it's like 100 a day, and they limit the number you can have outstanding at any given time. So be judicious with that. You don't want to spam the world with LinkedIn connection requests. I'm going to add another email, okay, 3 days later. And now I can use the follow-up email if I want. And I can just re-roll this. I'll show you guys exactly. I used the exact same prompting that I had before, but now it's 100 a week. Okay, thank you. So now I re-rolled for the follow-up email, and it's going to write a second email. But I am also going to create a variation, right, based on the copy that I wrote, because I don't want to trust AI with everything. I want to be testing against it. So this email is going to reply into the thread, so I don't have to worry about a subject line. Now you'll notice this email is long. I hope you're doing well. Sent you a few emails. I understand you're busy. I can make this email shorter by deleting some of the copy in the prompt. And deleting some, I don't necessarily need to personalize it. I'll try and see if I can get it in one sentence. So I'm going to re-roll it. And I hope you guys are seeing AI is a supplement to your workflow. Okay. This can help you come up with different versions of emails and help you have different ideas. I'll show you how to get it to write a joke in a minute. Okay. I don't love either one of these necessarily. They both look a little long to me. They both look like basically the same as the first email. So I'll re-roll them. And remember, you can use the like or dislike to get different variations based, over time. You're going to be training the AI. I'll use the second one for now. I'm going to cut this down though. And I'm just going to get rid of this. Let me know. Oh no, the AI didn't listen to my presentation. Yeah, I'll cut this down. I'll edit this a little bit to just say something like this. I wanted to see if you need any AI help. Or you could just say like, or not AI help. Wow, look at me. But do you need any SEO help? Okay, this is my second email. And I'm running out of time, guys. I apologize. So I'm going to just jump straight to the third email. Okay, third email, 3 days later. Now what I can do is I can have it write a breakup email if I want, the last pitch email, but I'm going to add a joke in the PS, in the context, okay? Right down here at the bottom, I said add a joke in the PS, and I can generate. This is going to write a joke for me. And sometimes the jokes are hilarious. It wrote one for me earlier today. All right. This guy's gonna get me in trouble. Okay. So this first one was it's my last attempt to reach out to you. Okay, we can edit that as we value our partnership. I don't know why it's saying that, but it's saying, hey, we understand your need for this. If you change your mind, reach out when's a good time to connect. P.S. Why was the SEO expert always so calm? They always found a way to rank it out. That's gonna get me in trouble. Okay. So I'm not gonna send that. The second one, it says, why did the SEO expert cross the road to get to the first page? I think that's actually pretty funny. Al Kareem, yeah, I'll talk to you about when the emails are sent in a second. So I can do some editing for this. I can choose a subject line. I don't like ending our partnership, so I'll re-roll it. I'll have it, give it back to me. Ending our partnership gracefully. Oh, that was interesting. I don't like that at all. So I'll just say something like Aruba plus SEO. I don't know. It's up to you guys. And of course, I'm going to add an A/B variation where I'm going to use the copy that I showed you guys in the slides. So the thing with the AI is, this is a very short period of time that I have to SEO on vacation, I think could be a good subject line here. It's a short period of time I have to demo it. I would encourage you guys to play around with it. It's included in your plan for almost everybody. And you get a lot of usage for no additional cost. So come in, play with the AI. What I'll show you really quickly before I go to the Q&A is when you do create a manual sequence, you can have the AI write a personalized opener for you. And what that looks like will be like this. I'm going to add an email. It'll be a manual email. And what I can do, again, manual is only available on professional plan. I can go in and we were here, write email with AI. I can say personalize email with AI. And what this will do, if I click use personalized opener, it's going to try and take as much information as it can based on what's in Apollo and personalize an opener for this person based on their role and their company. I don't love this. I think you can probably do a better job personalizing individually right now. We are working to improve this rapidly. I expect it to get better week over week, but you should come and play around with it. I know some of our users have gotten a lot of value from it. So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to go into Q&A. I'll be taking your questions for the next 15 minutes or so. While I do that, I will be running a poll. If you want a demo of anything that we covered today, please just say yes to the poll. Okay, so I'll show my face a little bit as well, and we will get into the Q&A. Okay, I'm hesitant to put in the unsubscribe button. Is it a must? I feel like it. Yeah, Ethan, I think you should do it. I really do. Because anybody, if you don't include a way for people to unsubscribe, not everyone's going to reply to you. They're just not. And what they're going to do instead is they're going to mark you as spam. It's much worse to be marked as spam. How do you respond from Molly? How do you respond to people acknowledging the funny Aruba note? Yeah, remember, this is an opportunity to have a conversation, right? So if somebody's like, they respond to the Aruba note or the joke, whatever you put there, I'll just reply back and I'll say something like, yeah, it was one of the craziest vacations I've ever had. Let me know, and then I'll just ask them, like, were you at all interested in SEO, or did anything I say pique your interest? A lot of the time people will, when they reply, a lot of the time they'll just do more than acknowledge the joke, though. They'll be like, that was hilarious. Hey, I don't need an SEO expert or whatever you're selling. Or they'll say, actually, this is something I'm looking for. Can we talk next week? So someone is saying volume 6K over 6 months. Yeah. So Santiago, I am a proponent of low volume, high quality outbound. So again, what I showed you was 2 sequences, like the results that I showed you from, when I was owning my own company. One was people I could personalize all the way, right? Like I had a ton of information about them and I was able to give them a really, really personalized outreach. And then I had cleaned my lists up, right? So I had a second list that I wasn't able to personalize as much. And that was really how I was able to get those results, is just putting them in the appropriate cadence. So you can get good results from an auto email as long as you're sort of like batching, if that makes sense, right? You find 100 people at a time with common characteristics, put them in a sequence for them. You don't want to put 2,500 people into a sequence that's completely not personalized. Like you have to kind of use your templates and your variations appropriately. So how do you monitor deliverability and domain reputation? Ellie, I can show you that. What you're going to want to do, when you go into the Engage tab of Apollo, I'm not sharing my screen right now, y'all, but when you go into the Engage tab of Apollo, there is a button in the top right-hand corner that says Run Diagnostics, and that will help you monitor some of your domain reputation. There are also some other providers outside of Apollo that monitor your domain health. A quick Google can find a couple of them, so I'd recommend that. Mohit's asking, is outreaching via phone calls does it really make a difference? So I would say this, like, you all have to keep in mind that I live in the United States and I primarily have sold to people in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain in my career. So there may be a cultural differences here. I can't speak to it. In general, if you're calling people and emailing them, both your calls and your emails, if you're doing both, will be more successful than if you were just calling or just emailing. So for me, I don't do outbound for fun. I do outbound to make money. And I always try and do what's going to get me the best result. So I always try and add phone calls and emails because I don't believe in spray and pray and I don't believe in high volume, right? Okay, I have a community of people in the creator economy. Would I be able to post this repay from Sabrina? Yeah, Sabrina, check the Apollo IO YouTube channel. We post every webinar there. So you can grab the link by the end of the day today or tomorrow, and you can share it there. Okay, we send 400 to 500 emails per day through our Apollo account. This is from Casey. Yeah, Google keeps telling us we're hitting our sending limit using Google Workspace. Is this common? Yeah, you're sending way too many emails. And I'm working with our product team to actually change the default setting. In Apollo, by default, your email limit is 400 emails a day. That's too many. Google's going to flag you right away and they'll shut you down. Google tells you that the limit is 2,000, but what Google doesn't tell you is that there's actually a breakdown between how many emails you can send to net new people, like outbound contacts, cold email, and how many emails you can send to internal people at your same company or people you've communicated with before. They don't tell you this because they don't want you to game the system. So that 2,000 number is not real. And I would recommend sending somewhere on the order of 100 emails per mailbox per day. And one of the things Apollo can do with a custom or a professional plan is you can have multiple mailboxes. So if any of that is like completely new to you, say yes to the poll and our sales team will help you out. Okay. Lots of questions coming in. I'm trying to get to as many as I can. Alice says, why not do all the work, do the work and do the writing ourselves? Yes, I think AI is a tool that is going to continually get better. This is very new. We just launched AI on our platform like a few weeks ago, right? So I wanted to show you guys what's possible with AI in Apollo today. I do think that it's going to rapidly improve. And I think some people really struggle with writing. They really struggle to write their emails out. So that was why I wanted to show it. But I also wanted to show you guys how to do it yourself. Spencer had said, question, please. Spencer, what was your question? Okay. I'll take a couple more. We have a time for a few more questions. I'm going to pop into the chat. I'm a little worried. What's happening in the chat? Do you put pictures in email? Yeah, don't put pictures in your emails. It's going to get you marked as spam really quickly. Vijay is asking Apollo versus Zoom Info. Is that a real question? I think we all know that Apollo is better. I think we know that. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks for coming. Okay. What about Vidyard videos? Yeah, we may do a webinar with Vidyard later on. Okay. And as for a webinar on sequences, that's on the to-do list. We'll do a webinar on 3 different sequences you can run to get better results. And by that, I mean just different asks, how to do a sequence for inviting people to a dinner, how to do a sequence for a decision maker, how to do a sequence for an influencer. Torben Sauerman, can we get the deck? Yes, I can share the deck with you. Drop me a line on LinkedIn. We don't really have a place for me to put the deck, to put the deck itself. I may try and put that in the follow-up email. So I'll get back to you there. If you send an email to someone, here you are, Spencer. If you send an email to someone as part of a sequence and they reply, and you want that reply to automate a response, can you re-enter into a sequence? And if they say no, can you put that in a different sequence? Yes, you can. And what you could do is you could use plays to accomplish that. And if you haven't been to, if you missed the last webinar I did on plays, I would recommend you watch that. If you want, if you don't have a custom plan or a professional plan and you want somebody from the Apollo sales team to walk you through it, say yes to the poll. But basically what you do is you create a play and you can use different triggers in your play. And the play can say things like, if they respond with negative interest, add them to sequence A. If they respond with positive interest, add them to sequence B. I'll stop the poll in a few minutes and I'll try and show you how to do it. Any special templates for offering freemium for life software licenses to contacts in the template archive? I'm not sure, Andrew. I'd recommend you take a look through the templates. A higher percentage of personal emails if changed the config. This is from John. John, I don't recommend emailing people's personal emails. The only exception to that is if you're a recruiter. If you're emailing somebody about a job opportunity, I think it's appropriate to email their personal email. If you're emailing them about a sales opportunity or you're trying to generate interest for a product you're selling, I don't think that that's the right approach. Do you think AI emails can be too AI in the terms that recipients can easily tell it's made by an AI program? I think, Kyle, it's really about your skill in prompting, right? Like the AI is going to produce whatever you prompt it to produce. So I would really recommend you spend 20 or 30 minutes playing with the Apollo AI. I think you can get emails that are virtually indistinguishable from a human. And you may need to do some editing, but it will get you 80 to 90% of the way there, as opposed to having to do it all yourself. Ashutosh is saying, I thought I was sending an email campaign, but if I do the same with another tool, I get a good open rate. I think it depends on, everything depends on the mailbox settings that you're using and which mailbox you're using with which. So if you're using one mailbox with Apollo and one with another tool, I would expect you have different rates of open because you may have harmed one domain reputation and not the other. Okay, I'm trying to keep up. I think we have time for a couple more. I really appreciate you guys' time staying to the end. This is incredible. Best practice prompts to feed to the AI. This webinar is what we have so far, Gino. I think we can work on trying to get you guys better and more content on what to prompt the AI. Okay, so wow, Gino, you asked that question like 400 times. Links and emails. I do not recommend sending links in your emails because it makes you look like a spoofer or a spammer. There shouldn't really be a reason for you to send a link in an email if your goal is to get a reply. I think what most people do is they're like, here's a link to my calendar, which is a goal to book a meeting. Jokes for the C-suite, it really depends. Every C-suite is, every C-suite persona is different. CEOs tend to be different from CFOs, so it's completely different. John Selig has great jokes. Some of the AI jokes is funny. There's a bunch of joke lists online. I think you can, play around with it. The link to your company page. Yeah, Marilyn, it depends on the domain you're sending from. I literally don't send any links at all. Other than the unsubscribe link, I don't have a link in my signature. I don't have a link to anything else. If you're sending from your primary domain, then if people are interested, they'll Google your company. They may also just look you up on LinkedIn and then they'll find your company and then they'll go to your website from there. Okay. Y'all, I'll take one more question and then we'll get out of here. Archie, I'm trying to find it. What's your thoughts on CTA? If you have a few minutes to spare, it'd be a pleasure to discuss your team's well-being. Let's find a time to connect here. What I don't like about that is you're telling me, let's find a time to connect here. You just asked, you didn't ask me a question. You just said, if you have a few minutes to spare, it'd be a pleasure. Well, it'd be a pleasure for who? It'd be a pleasure for you. Maybe not be a pleasure for me. I'd really recommend just rephrasing that. Just saying I'd love, are you at all worried about your team's well-being, or is this something that's on your radar right now? So you test this, A/B test it. Never take what I say as the gospel truth without testing, but run an A and B variation where you have the one you have now and then a much softer ask in the B variation and see if you get a difference in reply rates. Remember, guys, when it comes to reply rate, if you get a 3% reply rate or a 1.5% reply rate from one and a 2.5% reply rate from another, that's a big difference, right? That's almost a doubling in the reply rate. So even though the absolute numbers are small, the relative values are big. And that's us for today, y'all. I love you all. I appreciate you. I hope this was valuable for you. Keep an eye out for our next webinar. It's likely to be on coaching and conversation intelligence, which is soon to come from Apollo. Don't tell anyone I told you. And with that, I wish you all a great rest of your day, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you so much.